I'm trying to, basically it's a new project where I'm going to be building a data visualization of some interesting data set every last Sunday of the month. We'll see how long it takes, but I'm hoping that I can get the whole thing done in one live coding session. So it's probably going to be more than an hour, probably closer to 4, maybe even 5 hours. So we'll see how it goes. But the idea is that today I'm going to build the first one of those. So it's going to be a data visualization of all of the data I have surrounding my newsletter, which might not be extremely interesting to you, but it's super interesting to me. And maybe we'll see if we get some interesting data visualizations out of it. It's all going to be built with React and D3. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to do the whole thing of collecting the data first, cleaning up the data, making it work with React and setting up all of those things, and then I'm going to write an article about it, of how it went, what we did, the techniques we used, and we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna keep doing it for at least a couple of months and then evaluate whether it's a good idea or not. So I'm gonna start with creating a repository. I'm going to use a typical create React app process because that's the easiest way to get started. And I don't want to do it in a code sandbox because I think it's a bit more of a bigger project than that. So if I go with create React app, let's clone this repository first. So I created a repository that has all of the basic stuff. So it's going to be the same repository where I'm collecting all of the different apps. You appear to have cloned an empty repository. Yes. React for dataviz. Okay, this one is going to have a readme, which I need to add that later. So let's do touch readme.md and open it, or let's go with create React app. We're gonna call the first one a newsletter dataviz because that makes sense. Newsletter dataviz, and we'll see what. I'm gonna start by looking at what kind of data I have, what kind of data is available, and then we're gonna go from there, defining what are the main questions I want to answer and stuff like that. This one is going to be, it's going to look pretty much like a dashboard, I think. We might add, hey Carlos, thank you for following along, and how are you doing on this fine Sunday? Sorry, it's a Sunday. So the idea is that we're gonna start with collecting the data, and then actually maybe I should write it out in a README. So I'm gonna wait for create React app to finish running, and then go into the README and write out the goals of this data visualization and kind of outline the rough process. And I also have some material here so I can sketch out ideas for how we're gonna visualize it. So we gotta wait for create React app to install a crazy amount of dependencies. I can kill some of the things that I'm running. So I don't need Telegram, do I? Force quit that, quit Slack. Okay, that's gonna make it a little bit faster, so we'll see. Why is it installing 28,000 dependencies? That is a lot of dependencies. Okay. Got that. Oh, and let me move this up a little bit so it's easier for you guys to see. Okay, building fresh packages. Come on. I just want to get to the point where I can actually start working. Right now this is the boring part. But I thought it would be interesting to show the entire process from start to finish because I like sharing the entire process, and live coding helps me focus. So newsletter dataviz, we are gonna open that one. Components, new, we go into random coding, React for dataviz, newsletter dataviz, and I'm gonna start by opening the, why is this working so slowly? Let's see, OBS, 3 meg upload, I have way more upload than that right now, and it's using 50% of my CPU, wonderful. So I'm gonna open the README file, and we're gonna refer back to the README file as we go along. So we're gonna bootstrap it, and let's delete all of this stuff that we don't need, and we're gonna say newsletter dataviz. A data visualization or dashboard of all the data around my newsletter. Main rough process outline. Collect data, see what we find, and then once we find stuff, design a visualization, build with React and D3. Main questions. So the main questions I want to answer with this visualization are: one, how long? So I want to essentially analyze this as if my newsletter was a SaaS, like a service, as the traditional way you would analyze a SaaS business. A traditional SaaS analysis, even though this is a free newsletter. A free newsletter. So we need to know when do people show up, or how many people show up. So we need to know subscription rate. So how many people come on, how many people come on, how people churn. We need to know what kind of people churn. Do newer people churn more than old subscribers? How long do people stay? How long do people stick around? What else do we want to know? So what gives you all of the info that you need? So we know how many people come, how many leave. Do newer people churn more than old people? Because that changes what you should be working on. How long people stick around is also a very useful measure, of like how sticky is the stuff that you're writing. Do emails spark joy? I have data on that as well. So we need to know, do emails spark joy, and what kind of emails spark joy? Which emails spark joy? Which emails spark joy? And we'll see what happens. Hey Max Jowett, how are you doing today? Alright, so these are the main question we want to ask. Data sources. Data sources are Convertkit data dumps, typeform questions, typeform votes, typeform questions, yeah, typeform questions. Oh, Ridari, how come you changed your name? It's confusing when people, it's like when somebody changes their avatar online and suddenly you don't know who they are anymore. I think changing your name is an even stronger example of that. So we have, for data sources, we have Convertkit data dumps, typeform questions, do emails spark joy, which emails spark joy, and then we should also look at which emails cause churn or not. Yeah, we'll see which emails cause churn. Typeform. So we have Convertkit data dumps, we have typeform questions. What else do we have? We can also look at, I don't actually know what else we can look at. So we're gonna use these data sources. Okay, so get status, we can say git add dot get status, git commit minus a minus m. We're gonna say that we init with CRA and define goals. Okay, so we've got that part. Now what is next? Now we need to get the actual data. So the easiest data to get will be on Convertkit, because I think Convertkit can tell me everything about my actual subscribers. Let's see. So we have the confirmed subscribers here. These are all of my currently active subscribers. All 30 subscribers. Select all 9,000 subscribers. Bulk action. Let's do export. Exporting your list of subscribers. You will receive an email when the export is available. And then we can also look at canceled subscribers. Those are the people who unsubscribe. There is, how many of them? Doesn't really show me how many of them there are. Oh, there's a bulk action already in progress. So we gotta wait for the Ridari/Max. Yes, I did start the new job on Monday, but I'm trying to figure out a good way to continue my side hustle, even though I'm going to scale it down a little bit. So one of the ways I'm doing that is this monthly data visualization that I wanna do every last Sunday of the month. So kind of a bigger project that takes a bit more concentrated effort, but less time on a day-to-day basis. And we'll see if that works. So we're still waiting for the bulk action to finish. Now let's see if Typeform has a good way for us to download all of the data. So I think Convertkit will only have data for this year. I'm not sure when did I start using Convertkit. Let's see, all time. I did actually convert January 6th, so we're gonna be looking at basically this year. And yes, Candy Cane, I did negotiate pretty hard on my comeback, which is why I'm enjoying it so much. Now let's see if we have here the all of my emails and post emails. So is there a way to export all of this stuff? Let's see, emails, we've got these things. Weekly newsletter, January 7th, perfect. So this is the Typeform that I include under every post. But do I have a way of exporting in bulk? Delete workspace, no. Typeform, plan and billing, your profile, help center. Let's see, Typeform, export data from multiple forms. So we need to export the data into a CSV or something so that we can then use it. Export results. Let's see, is the bulk action on Convertkit still in progress? That might be annoying if it takes a long time. Okay, it's not. Now let's see how many people unsubscribed this year. 900. Okay, that's not too bad. That is about 1% churn rate, which is actually really good. So we're gonna export that one as well. So we're now gonna have two data dumps, one for all active subscribers and one for all of the subscribers that have unsubscribed. And we can then analyze that to see what makes them unsubscribe, how long they stick around, stuff like that. And the main reason I'm doing this is because the difference between whether new subscribers unsubscribe and old subscribers, new subscribers means that my onboarding is bad. If old subscribers are unsubscribing, it means that my content is bad. And one of those is easier to fix than the other, right? And I'm also gonna look at, can I download results for multiple forms? Download all responses. Please don't tell me I'm gonna have to go one by one. Okay. Is there a Typeform API? Typeform API. Typeform APIs, let's see. So we're going to look at the responses API and try if we can access the submissions for your typeforms in JSON format. That is exactly what we need. So, okay, Convertkit has the data dumps for everything. For Typeform, we're gonna have to do it a little bit more manually. So let's see, the responses API reference list, ready to start. For an overview, create an application or generate a personal access token to make direct requests. You might want to check the responses walkthrough. Generate a personal token. Access tokens are long strings. Anyone with your personal access token, hey RootGP, log into your account at Typeform, click my account in the left and then personal tokens. Okay. Now the next one, let's go see if npm.js has a Typeform API. because I don't want to build my own. Let's see, typeform, API client, wonderful. So we've now got pretty much everything we need. So we are going to, here in the data directory, we're going to make a, let's do make dir data. Actually, it needs to be in source, so it's going to be a lot of data, so we might want to take it from public. So we're going to put it in public. We're going to have a data directory. So make dir public data, and we're going to go into public data. That the popularity of what you are offering, the subject matter can have a sub-unsub effect. That is true. So there are global market trends that are difficult, but it's also useful to know whether you're being impacted by them. Okay, so we've got the public data thing. Now let's go into my mail and download those Convertkit CSV files. Loading Gmail. Let's see. Okay, Convertkit subscribers export. We have this one. This is all of the active subscribers, I think. At the desktop, comma separated values. We want this one to go into, let's see, random coding. React. Oh, come on. That's annoying. So it's alphabetic. React for dataviz. Where are you? React for dataviz and newsletter dataviz public data. We're gonna say active subscribers.csv. So we've got that file, and then the other one, which is the inactive subscribers. So let's call it unsubbed, active, inactive. So inactive subscribers.csv. Wonderful. Now let's see how large those files are. ls lh public data. We have, okay, so it's only about, it's going to be about 2 megs of data to download, which is a lot, but it's also not crazy much. So it's too much to import directly into our code, but it's not so big that users would be waiting forever for it to download, which is great. So the next one, let's open one of them. So if we look at our public data, let's look at inactive subscribers. We know their name, their email. I'm going to be removing their emails because we don't want to be leaking people out. We know created at status, old created at, let's see, status is cancelled, and we know, do we know when they cancelled? Seriously, does it not tell us when they unsubscribed? So we know July 25th for this rchase person. rchase at, so Riley Chase unsubscribed on the 25th of July. Okay, so that is when they unsubscribed. The created at here is when they unsubscribed, but we don't know when they became a subscriber, do we? Because they are not going to be here. This date tells us when somebody did subscribe. So then if we say rchase at, aha. Okay, so this person became a subscriber on the same day that they unsubscribed. See, this test person that we're looking at right now became a subscriber on July 25th and unsubscribed on July 25th at 10:47 p.m. They subscribed at 10:50 p.m. What? That makes no sense. Let's see. So sequences forms after what? July 25th, email history sequences. So it looks like this person unsubscribed 3 minutes before they became a subscriber. That is strange. And I can't tell right now. Okay, right now they are marked as cancelled. Weird. Okay, let's try somebody else. Inactive subscribers. Wait, does confirmed subscribers only show me? Let's download all subscribers, and that's going to be easier. So we have all subscribers, so that's 11,000 of them, and we'll be able to cross-reference those two lists, right? I think so. Okay, let's export this one as well. So this a part of the problem here is that I'm a little confused about how Convertkit data actually works, but it looks like we should be able to tell when people subscribed and unsubscribed based on putting them in two different lists and comparing those lists. Okay, so we have all the subscribers and we exported them. Now let's look at the typeform data. So for the typeform, we're going to say touch scrape typeform.js, and let's do that one. So we're gonna go into scrape typeform. It's going to be React mode because I like how prettier works as React form stuff. We're gonna say yarn add -dev because we only need this in development at typeform/API client. Let's see if that works. I think it does. So we're going to use it like this: import create client from typeform/API client, like that. Then we say const typeform API equals create client, and I'm gonna use my token directly because I am lazy. So this is still installing, I think. Yeah. So let's see, what is it saying about how do I get a personal access token? So I go here, my profile or my account. I forget what it said. Plan, billing, referral, developer apps, register a new app. How do I get a personal access token? Log into your Typeform account. In the upper, click My Account. In the left menu, click Personal Tokens. Personal Tokens. Here we go. Generate a new token. And we're going to have newsletter dataviz. Custom scopes. We only needed to have a read information about forms, read for responses. We don't want it to create themes. We don't want webhooks, workspaces, list forms in a workspace. That might actually be useful. Okay, so we're generating the token. And now, even if this token leaks, I'm not super worried because it is very contained in scope. Okay, so we say here, we say token, we add the token. If you steal this token, you can read some of my data, but you can't write. Sorry. Okay. Why is that's weird? So parts of my comment are in different shades of gray. Okay, so we have the Typeform API, which means we can then create a list of forms, right? Typeform API.forms.list, and we're going to say then, let's just await that. So const, actually, should we do it with a then? Let's do const form equals await type forms API list. Got that. And we're going to put them in a function scrape scrape data, which is going to be an async function, and then we're going to console log the forms just so we, well, what was that? Console log forms, and that will tell us what we actually get, and we're going to call the method here. Great, so I've got that written up. Now I can run node node scrape typeform.js, and let's see what it does. Import is unexpected. Great, so we can't use imports because this is Node, and I always forget that. So let's do const create client equals require typeform. Will that work? Let's try. Node scrape typeform.js. Yes, allow access to the API. Cool. So we've got all of the forms. Total items 138, page count 14. Let's see if we can make more of them per page, because going page by page is going to be annoying. So I'm hoping that we can list them all with one page. That would be a lot easier. So let's see. Page size, number of results to retrieve, default is 10, maximum is 200. And guess what? All of my forms are, there's only 138 of them, which is perfect. So we are going to say page size 200. And now let's see, console log forms, node scrape, and we get all of them, right? I think so. Page count 14. Nope. Why not? Page, oh, because here it's page size with camel case. That's silly. So we have camel case in the actual Node library and snake case in the official documentation, which is kind of silly. Great, so we've got all of the forms. Now what I need to do is figure out, actually, should we go through the workspaces? Let's try workspaces and list the workspaces. And the reason I want to go through workspaces instead of through the forms themselves is because I have things organized in workspaces, and that's going to make it easier to know which forms belong to which type of question. So if we go with workspaces equals typeform API workspaces, and we list those things, let's see what happens. Node scrape typeform, workspaces list, update get, add members, remove members. Okay, so that gives me, oh, and it gives me a list of forms as well. Nice. So if it gives me a list of forms, let's see what is workspaces. Let's see, we need to have the emails and we need the post emails and the emails workspaces. Those are the forms that we care about. So we take those and then we filter them. So we say const, actually let's just filter them here. So const filter, where we're gonna be taking the name and we're gonna say where name equals, actually let's do it like this, where post emails and emails contain, no, includes the name, right? So those are the workspaces we want to keep. Let's see if that worked. Console log workspaces, no, save, run the script again. Unhandled typeform workspaces list filter is not a function. Yes, because I want you to await it first and then do filtering. Nope, that doesn't work. Okay, so what if we say await, and then we say, hey Tarek DJ, workspaces, and we workspaces filter includes name, and that then gets returned. So that should work. Nope. Then workspaces.filter is not a function. What do we get here? Console log workspaces. So what did we get in the response? Node script type form. Oh, right, because it is .items. All right. So we say items. Let's call it response, and then we're gonna say here, instead of workspaces.filter, we're going to say response.items.filter by name, and it's gonna give us the two workspaces that we need. Perfect. So that worked. We now have those two workspaces, and we have 56 forms in each of them. So what do? We can then go here and we say, how do we get forms for a specific workspace? Forms.get, form by ID, by works. How do I get it by workspace ID? That's what I'm interested about. Workspace ID. Perfect. So we can get forms from a specific workspace. So we can say const forms equals await type form API. We are gonna have to, let's do it this way. Let's await promise.all, and we're gonna do it this way. We're gonna take the workspaces IDs. So we're gonna take workspaces.map, and for each of those we're gonna get out the ID. So we take out the ID from the workspace, and for each ID we run typeform API.forms.list with workspace ID of ID and page size of 200, right? So that should then just work. Now we can then flat that. Okay, now we're gonna get a list of forms. Now let's see what happens if we console log these forms. So we should get now an array of 2 items where each of them is going to be a list of forms for each of the things, right? So that kind of worked. We've got total items, page count 1 for the items, and then for the items. So we've got the forms. Let's also, what do we do here? Right, let's return just the items. So we're gonna say then, and we're gonna say forms, and from each of the forms we're going to return the list of items, forms.items, like that. And now we should get a cleaner array here. We did, perfect. So now we have the cleaner array. We know when the form was created. Let's look at how do we know when the form was created? Because of the last updated at. The reason the last updated at is useful is because I never update my forms. So we're gonna filter them only to the ones that come from 2019 onward, because that's the data we have. Right? Right. So that's the data we have. Let's see what we can do next. So those are the forms. Now let's make a cleaner list of forms by filtering them so that we want to only return the forms that are after, const, what do we say? Also, how do we get results? or responses? That's the interesting question. Responses API. Walkthroughs JSON response migrate from date key concept. Walkthroughs responses API manually retrieve your typeforms data. Use query parameters to retrieve specific data. I'm sure this has a responses. It does. Responses list page size since, until, after, before, completed, sort, query. Okay, so that's gonna work. Now let's get a clean list of forms. So let's see all forms, and then we're gonna have our forms are going to be forms equals all forms dot flat. So Andrei, how come I use the white theme in VS Code? The reason I use the white theme in VS Code is because I hate dark themes. I think white is easier, makes things easier to read, and if I think that like a dark theme is kind of like pointing a bright light at your face and then putting sunglasses on it so it's not blinding you, instead of, you know, just making the light less bright. So I keep my monitors at a very low brightness, and then I can keep everything white, which I find it's better on my eyes in general. So all forms flat, and then we filter, where we take the last updated at. So let's say f, and we say f dot new date of f dot last updated at is more than let's say more than target date. Target date makes sense, or start date. Let's do start date, then start date. Okay, so now we need the start date up here. We're gonna say const start date equals new date of 2019, and we said the first one that we have Convertkit data on is January 6th, so we're gonna say 2001-06. That's what we care about, right? So that's the new date, and that should just work. Let's say UTC as well, just in case. So now we can say console log of forms, and let's see what it gives us. Node scrape typeform talks to the API and errors out. All forms flat is not a function, isn't it? Dot flat node dot flat. I know that exists. Array prototype flat, but it's not in. Is it really not in JavaScript yet? Also, why is my computer complaining so much? Why does it have to run a complex kernel task right now? That is very not nice of you, computer. So flat should work, but is it not in Node yet? My Node is too old. Node -- version. I am on 10.12, and this only became available in Node 11. What is the latest Node? Let's see. Latest version of Node that I dare install. We're gonna do it without the flatten stuff. So how do we do that? We can say, let's just do this. We know that there's only, actually let me try something. Could it be as easy as splatting an array? Let's say A equals 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, right? So then if we say, no, that stays the same. We would have to say of A0 and A1, right? A1, and then it would work. So we can write a simple reducer dot reduce. We're gonna say accumulator and array. That is the argument into our function, and we go dot 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 slash accumulator dot 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 slash array, or just dot 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 array, and we start with an empty array. Node 10 doesn't have dot flat. Now will it work? Node scrape typeform. We go through the whole process and we get a list of typeforms. Yes, perfect. So we've got all of that now. Now the next thing we need are all of the responses. So the responses are going to be a little trickier, but we can do it. So we can say const responses equals forms dot, it's await promise dot all, and then we say forms dot map, and we get a form, and for each of those forms we're gonna have to run the typeform client, right? So we're gonna say what was it? Create client typeform API dot responses dot, what did we say it was? Responses, a list of responses dot list, and as the arguments we're gonna need to use what? The documentation for responses page excuse me, page size, let's say 200. I don't think any of them have more than 200 page size, so we don't need since, we don't need until, we don't need after, before, included, completed, sort, query, limit requests to only responses that the form ID. Let's try form ID. So if we say form ID of form.id, that should in theory work, right? Actually, instead of doing it for all of them right away, let's prove that our approach works first on just one of them. So we are going to slice the forms array to only the first one. I think that's how it works. Let's see. 1 2 3 4 dot slice 0 1. We get the first one, and that's exactly what we want. And let's console log the responses, console log responses to see what happens. So we say node scrape typeform.js, and we see code unauthorized, description unauthorized. Okay. You always wondered how I could use the white theme and not go blind? Yeah, it's because look at this. If I look at my system preferences and show you my brightness, you'll see that it is actually very, very low. So displays, oh, actually it's pretty high right now because, oh, it's high right now because it's very bright outside and I can't see anything otherwise, but it's still pretty low. And I think the monitor also adjusts automatically. So let's see, why doesn't this work? Why is it unauthorized? Did I put in the form ID wrong? Let's see. Come on, where is my documentation for the client? API client, let's see what it does. Workspaces, responses. So the responses says UID, page size, since, until, after, before, completed, sort, query fields. Why doesn't it list responses from the given ID? Okay, what if we say UID is form ID? Will that work? Node scrape typeform, and that, okay, so that works. Interesting. So UID is the form ID, so that's great. Now we can also say then and return get a response, and we're going to only return response items. So run that again and we get a list of responses, right? Perfect. So that tells us where they landed, the token, the response ID, landed at, and metadata. What is metadata? Let's see. Let's load. We're gonna print just the first response and see what that does. So user agent, metadata, landing. Oh, let's do responses 0, 0, so that I get just one response, because I want to know what the actual responses were. Because if we can't tell that, so we have answers. What are answers? Dot answers. Let's see what the answers tell me. Field, ID, type, opinion, scale. Okay, let's try doing that with all of them. So responses dot for each, we say resp, and we print out console log resp dot answers. Was it? I think it was. So we're gonna say responses of 0 for each. So I'm still basically, I'm at the point where I'm still kind of just figuring out how we're even gonna get the data, and then we're gonna get to visualizing it. So this is always the most, this is usually the most annoying part of any data visualization project. So we have metadata. Where did we say the answers thing was? Actually, let's look at the responses API. JSON response explanation. There we go. So we get the items general data object. Each item has a landing submitted at metadata. Answers array. Next, each response in the payload includes the answers array. Each answers array object lists 4 pieces of information. Which question, what type of question, what type of answer the question accepts, and the answer itself. The answers array lists objects objects in random order, not in the same order as the questions appear. Oy vey. So then they want us to make additional requests to get the field names and the actual fields. That is annoying. Wait, so where were these response answers? Okay, so some of them have answers, not all of them actually have answers. So console log response dot answers and response dot answers. So if answers exists, then we want to use it, otherwise we say none. And I'm not sure why some of them would have no responses. No answers, I mean. So let's find. Okay, so some of them have these fields. 2, 4. Yes, no, long text, love to hear failure and troubleshooting stories. Oy vey, this is going to be very difficult to figure out. So hooray for data visualization projects where most of the time is spent in actually getting and parsing the data. And the fields don't even really have consistent IDs, do they? Okay. So then we need to look at what else. So can we get field names? Fields, forms. Actually, do forms have fields? Yeah, let's print out the first form and see if those have field data, because if those have field data, that's going to be very helpful. So console log forms of 0, so the first form we're printing it out, and it has ID, title, last updated at, settings, self, team, links. How do I get the names of fields? Yeah, so responses API, the answers array object for a yes/no question looks like this, and for a rating question, for a file upload question, hidden field objects for landings without responses. If someone opens your type form but doesn't complete yet, where is it? Complete it, your payload will include an object that lists all the general data with a null value for the answers array, and no hidden fields or calculated stuff. Why wouldn't it just show me at least as much as they actually have? So once I have those fields, how do I translate fields back to, how do I get fields? The readable name you specified for the field when you created the form. Use the ref value to match answers with questions. The responses payload will not include ref fields unless you specify them when you created the form. Do my things have ref fields? They have ref fields, but they're not extremely useful. Great. Okay, so what else can we figure out? Retrieve responses, migrate from data API. So I'm trying to figure out how I can get the actual names of the questions so that I can know what they were questions to, or they were answers to. Although I guess we only need, so I actually know what my forms look like. So if I go into an actual form, you can see that all of my answers, the only ones that we can actually analyze are these ones. Did you enjoy this email? Which is a rating question, and would you recommend the list to your friends? My voice sounds raspy today. It's probably raspy because I was running and it's really hot outside, so my throat is kind of dry. I've also been essentially talking non-stop for over an hour. So I think we can take only the questions that are ratings and the questions that are this yes, no, and we'll know, from those we'll immediately know what they are, which is, I think, useful. So we don't want responses. Do we want we want responses to everything, but we don't necessarily need them to be I don't know what I was gonna say. So let's console log the first response again, console log responses 0. The main thing I'm checking now is whether each response is whether it identifies which form we're talking about, because that will be useful. So responses have a landing ID, a token, response ID, landed at, network ID, and so on, but they don't tell me whether they have ID, self, team, links. That's the form. Oh, okay, here. Landing ID. Okay, so they don't tell us which. That's annoying. So frustratingly, responses don't contain which form they have. So we're gonna have to pack that together ourselves. So we're going to take the items for each of these guys, and we're going to return form is going to be form.id, and responses are going to be res.items. So that way we'll be able to match them together. Because why? I know why. Because we're gonna use that later when we are matching them to emails, right? Yes, I think that makes sense. Okay, so now we've got all the responses, which means we can just save the JSON data. So we have this stuff. Let's see if anyone's talking on Twitter. I'm going to see if I can just keep adding to my tweet where it announces the live stream and see if I can keep adding responses. I don't know yet. I haven't quite decided yet how all of this is going to work, so I'm figuring out as I go. We've got this thing. Okay. So let's see. We've got that stuff. Now we can dump all of the data into a JSON. What's the easiest way to write a JSON file in Node? Actually, let's scrape data. So we're going to have const responses is going to await promise all, forms map, blah, and then we're going to return. Actually, no, we can just scrape all the stuff and then we can write it. So we're going to write a JSON, two JSONs. One is going to be for the forms that we care about, and the other is going to be for the responses that we care about. Yes, that makes the most sense. So let's see. What was I gonna do? How do we write a node write JSON to file? I'm sure there's a reading and writing JSON files with Node.js stack abuse. Perfect. That is exactly what I was looking for, because I am too lazy to write it from scratch. Read file, we wanna write it. Write file sync, JSON stringify, write file. Is there an easier way? No. Oh, okay. So we're going to take this stuff. We're gonna require const fs equals require fs, and we go down here and we get all of the responses, and then we write fs.writeFile, write file sync. So we're gonna write two files. One is going to be public data / forms.json, and we're going to put in the JSON stringify of our forms. Then we're going to fs write file sync into public, public data, and instead of forms we're going to have responses.json, and that's going to JSON stringify into forms. No, not forms. This is going to be responses, like that. And I think that should just work. So I'm gonna now run this, and while that's running, I think it's going to take a while. We can get back to the CSVs from Convertkit and anonymize them. Because the reason I'm anonymizing them is because this is gonna go on GitHub, and it's also gonna go anytime somebody loads that data visualization. Anytime somebody loads the data visualization, it's going to show them. It's basically going to be potentially a way for emails to leak, and I don't want to do that. So we scrape the typeform, and we run scrape typeform.js, and that's going to keep running in the background. In the meantime, well, that was fast. Why was it so fast? ls public data. We have forms JSON and we have responses JSON. Let's look at the forms JSON. So that is a big file that has all of the data that we need. It seems about right. I don't know how many of them there are here, but looks like plenty. Cool. Typeform, links, display, all of that seems to be fine. Then we can open the responses JSON, and that one also looks fine, except it's very long. So I guess that worked. Let's see, how long are they? ls minus lh public data. So we've got, okay, 1.4 megs of responses. Good. Cool. That works. Now let's anonymize the subscribers' data and then go from there. To anonymize the subscriber data, we're going to be creating universal identifiers for them because I think that is fair. So get status. We can then say public data script typeform. Let's do we can write a node file to anonymize CSV, right? Yeah. So I think there's going to be node read write CSV, reading and writing CSV files with Node.js, also stack abuse. Wonderful. Whoever is this stack abuse person, they are doing a great job. And yeah, I should probably do a better job of writing blogs and tutorials. I used to do more of that, but then I got lazy. So yarn add -- dev CSV parser, because I don't want to write my own CSV parser, and then we're going to parse it and anonymize it. Let's see, does Convertkit give me a dump of broadcasts as well? That would be useful, because if I can dump my broadcast data, that would, these are basically the emails that I send. So it would be useful to know who create, like, basically, what was I gonna say? It would be useful to know the actual emails that I sent. So let's see, Convertkit export broadcast data. The complete guide to Convertkit broadcast, how to export subscribers, broadcast reporting, web archives of broadcasts, importing emails. Let's do the complete guide to Convertkit broadcasts. So while I'm doing that, we can say touch anonymize ck data.js, and we're going to open that one, switch to React mode, and now let's see, how do we read and write? Create read stream. Okay, so we're going to say const csv equals require csv parser, and then we say const fs equals require fs, and then fs create read stream from public data. Let's do inactive subscribers.csv, and we're gonna pipe that through the CSV parser, and then we're gonna say on data we have a row where we can do stuff with the row, and then on end we can do just whatever happens. Cool. Okay, so on end, let's console log the row each time, just for now, to see that it's reading properly. And here let's also add a universal identifier stuff. So yarn add --dev UUID, because that is a pretty good library that I found for creating identifiers. So we're going to say const UUID v4 equals require UUID, Then we're going to create a mapping where it's const email to UUID, which is going to start as an empty object, and we're going to be using that. What are you complaining about here? What? I don't get it. Why is this complaining? Node anonymize CK data, and that works. So we got the row. Oh, and each row has everything. That is amazing. Perfect. Oh, and we also know the old created that. So when I was importing data from drip to Convertkit, I managed to keep my old created that stuff, which means we can merge those. That would be extremely useful. So here is a person who was with me for, wow, since 2016, and then they finally unsubscribed on January 14th this year. That's unfortunate. So let's see. We have this stuff. We can say const id equals, let's see, row.email. Oh, we can do it like this. We're piping this stuff, and let's see, I was gonna say if email to UUID of row.email exists, what might have made them unsubscribe after that long? My best bet is that they weren't getting my emails for a very long time because something was either wrong or whatever. Like, it's possible that deliverability wasn't actually getting emails to them, and then they suddenly got an email from me and they were like, what the fuck? So they unsubscribed. Or they just got tired of my emails and decided to unsubscribe because either they were ignoring them for a long time or they just moved on and started doing something else in their life. That happens. I have a lot of people who subscribed to get news and stuff from React and data visualization, and then either they stopped caring about that, or I started writing about too many different things, so they decided to unsubscribe. There's a bunch of reasons. So if this email doesn't exist, then we're going to say email to UUID of, yes, UUID of row.email becomes UUID v4. So we're creating a unique identifier for this specific email. So anytime this email shows up in any of the data, we're always going to be using the same ID. Now let's see about writing CSV files. So we're going to also get a CSV writer. So let's see. Actually, let's just create the data first. So we're gonna have, those are our identifiers. Then we have const data. We're gonna essentially create a unified data set because I think that's gonna be most useful. Const data is going to be an array where we're gonna be adding rows. So how do I create a row? Can I just say new row? Reading files, writing files. Let's see. Okay. So what I can do is, yeah, that's the problem, is that I'm not sure how to create these rows. So let's look at CSV parser, GitHub CSV, actually no, npm.js, npm.js, CSV minus parser, and let's see. Oh my god, bird, why are you screaming in the background? How do I create a row from scratch? Row? Row. Actually, I guess I can just create one. So we're gonna say data.append. Is it append? Push? No, I think it's push. We're gonna push into the data. So we're gonna say data.push, and we're going to be passing in an ID, which is email to UUID of row.email. So actually, let's have it a UID, so that's the user identifier. Then we can have a created at, which is going to be row.old created at, or so this is a problem now, because we have, when they were created at in the inactive subscriber list is actually when they unsubscribed, but we want to create a unified list. So what we can do is say that created at is either row old created at or empty, and we can say unsubscribed is row.created at, and then we can have the current status, which is row.status, right? So that means instead of data.push, we're gonna have data of ID. So that way we're gonna be able to go through different CSV files and keep updating the same data point, like the same subscriber in our data set. So we can say data of let's see, const UID equals our identifier, like that, and then we can say data of UID becomes, UID is just the UID, then we get the created at and we get the status, like that. Okay, so that's the stuff that we have. The next one is, let's go to Convertkit or into my email and get the other data dump from Convertkit, the one that has supposedly all of the subscribers, and we can see if that one is more useful. Where are you? Convertkit 3. Convertkit, let's see. Here to download. And let's see, all subscribers.csv. And we're gonna look at what that one looks like. So I'm gonna lslh all of my data again, and all subscribers is a bit of a bigger file, and I think Brave just almost crashed right there, which is kind of silly. So vim public data all subscribers, and we have first name created at status. Right. So we are looking for somebody who is cancelled. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the created at for whatever status that we have is actually when they went into that status, right? Let's see. No, let's ignore that list, and we're gonna go with the list of active and inactive subscribers. So we're gonna parse the active subscribers first. So we're gonna do all of this stuff, and we're gonna say create read stream. So we're gonna do it like this. We're gonna have a function that parse active. It's gonna do all of that, and then on end it's going to call a callback. So callback, actually let's turn it into a promise because we can. So we're going to say return new promise that has a resolve and then on end we call the resolve function, right? Yes. So parse active, and on end we resolve it with our, let's just keep the data up top. And then here we say function parse inactive, which is going to do the same stuff, except it's going to be here. It's going to say return new promise with a resolve method here, and then on end we are resolving it. So we resolve the promise when all is done, and we say const UID is email to UID, then data.uid. Whoa. Okay. So, oh, wow. I ran out of battery in my camera, so right now you probably see me as frozen, but I will be right back. Okay, you should be seeing me again. Let's see if I'm moving. Yep. No? Come on. Camera live. Okay, now I'm moving again. Perfect. Okay, so where was I? So we've got the active data from active subscribers. So active subscribers, we have created that is either row created at or row.created at, and their status is whatever the status in the row says. Then we go through the inactive subscribers, and we're going to just add. So if data ID already exists, so if data of UID exists, then we say data of UID becomes a splat of the old data UID stuff, and we're also going to add a unsubscribed, which is the created at for when somebody became inactive, and the status is going to become row.status. Otherwise, what is it complaining about? Something is wrong. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to set the data as its own data. But there we go. Okay. So now that fixes prettier. So now we can run we can have an async function anonymize, and we can say await parse active, then we can await parse inactive, and then once we have all of the data, we can write that data out. So where was I? Reading and parsing, use the writing the CSV writer. So yarn add --dev CSV writer, and we're gonna write the data. Write data. Wonderful. Now writing data is going to look like what? We say const create CSV writer equals require CSV minus writer dot create object CSV writer. And my computer is extremely laggy right now, but it's okay. We will handle this. Then here we say function write data does what? So we create const CSV writer equals create CSV writer with the path of is going to be public data subscribers.csv, and then we say the header is going to be object.keys from okay, so we take object keys from the first item in the data, so data of how do we get one? Let's see. That's annoying. So what's the easiest way to get, actually we know what they are. Let's just write the header manually. So we're gonna have ID is UID and title is UID. Then we have one that has UID ID of created at and the title of created at. Hey Doruk, how are you doing today? Then we have ID unsubscribed and title unsubscribed. I don't know why they made this so complicated, but they did. And then we have status and we have title status. Great. So we've got the CSV Writer and my mouse. Oh, great. Okay, so I gotta restart VS Code. Code restarting. Bam. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, VS Code. You can start. And then we run CSV Writer dot write records of object dot values of our data, and we just await that. Await. We say async, and we await this thing as well. What is this complaining about? Expected an assignment or function call and instead saw an expression. It's okay. Cool. So now I'm going to run that and we'll see if it worked. Thank you. I do enjoy my beanie. Anonymize. And we run node anonymize ck data and let's see what happens. It dies. UUID v4 is not a function. Const UUID v4 from UUID v4. Will that make it work? Cannot find module UUID. Okay, ls node modules UUID index vim module exports. Aha. So it's like this. Okay, now we run the thing, node anonymize ck data. Wonderful. Now let's see if that actually worked. Thanks, Doruk. Per newsletter dataviz, public data, subscribers.csv. What do we have? We have their IDs and then when they were created and whether they are still active. And do we have any unsubscribed timestamps? We should. I know plenty of people unsubscribed from my mailing list. Okay, we got some cancelled folks. That's great. Do we have any that are... Cool, okay. Pipe CSV converts CSV to JSON. Apparently it does actually. Here, I think it's what the CSV reader does. It does that thing. So it must run some sort of transform that I'm not really aware of how it works, but I'm happy that it does work. What I'm suspicious of is this data saying that there are only, you know, that I only have 900 people who have unsubscribed this year, because I'm pretty sure there's more of them. And I'm also not sure why all subscribers, see here, if I go to Convertkit, why is it that when I look at confirmed subscribers, there is 9,900 of them, but if I look yeah, if I look at all subscribers, there is way more of them. So we have all subscribers that where it's 11,400. Then we have, what is unconfirmed subscribers? That's just one person. Okay. Then we have canceled subscribers. What are complaint subscribers? Oh, those are people who have actively said that I'm spam, which is not very nice of them. 167 people who are not nice and don't know how to just unsubscribe from something. Not cool. And then we have bounced subscribers, of which there is, these are people whose emails don't work, 490 of them. And then actually I should probably, that will make it work. So we're gonna have, I'm gonna add complaint subscribers and bounce subscribers as well. So we're going to export this, and basically then we're gonna finally have the data set to wait, bulk actions, export, and then we go to complaint subscribers and we get all of the complaint subscribers, and then we're gonna have the data set to finally work on our data visualization. Oh, bulk action in progress. So I gotta wait for the bulk action to finish, and then we can continue. Almost, yeah, exactly. They can just unsubscribe. Almost 2 hours, nearly 2 hours in. Almost got the data set in a usable form. Time to start designing the visualization. So let's see. Let me show you, Doruk, what we wrote in the beginning. So the main objectives of the data visualization I want to make is basically seeing it's basically seeing how people behave on my newsletter, how they come in, when they leave, how long they stay, whether my emails are sparking joy or not, because I have data on that as well, which emails spark the most joy and what causes churn and so on. So I don't have a good idea yet of how we're gonna visualize that, but I have some thoughts about it, and we're gonna try to draw some drawings. Churn basically means people who unsubscribe. That's these ones would be complaint subscribers. Complaint subscribers.csv. So churn basically means how many people per month. The idea is that you need to balance the opt-ins and the churn rate. So the more people that are unsubscribing, the more new people you need to keep getting into your platform. And then you can figure out how long they stick around and whether what you're doing is actually working. So, and I'll explain more as we start visualizing stuff. Now let's see, where do we... Convertkit does give a graph for number 1, but it's not a very useful graph because it doesn't give me... it's very hard from this graph to know exactly what I'm doing and how it's affecting stuff. Let's see. So I can do a per month graph. Come on, just show me the graph. And right, the graph isn't even loading. So yeah, Convertkit graphs not the most useful, and their data dumps also seem to be quite silly. So we have the complaints. I don't know which subscribers we have. Let's look at the complaint subscribers. Is this actually what it is? This is bounced subscribers. So we're going to rename this file. Move public data complaint subscribers into public data bounced subscribers.csv. So those are the people who are bounced. Now let's, come on, reload the page, Convertkit, you can do it. Complaint subscribers are the people who marked me as spam. So bounced means that they gave me a fake email, and complained means that they marked me as spam. So I'm gonna try to use all of that data. Let's see, got the new email, get the data, send them a farewell letter. Yeah. So we have bounce, and then we have complaint subscribers.csv. Well, the reason I care is because the more people mark you as spam, it hurts your deliverability. So we've got parse inactive, and let's give them Actually, we can use parse inactive and everything the same, because the status, yeah, okay. Parse inactive is going to get a path, and the path is going to be here, path, and then we're going to keep going through them and do the same stuff. So parse inactive, then we have complaint subscribers, and we have complained and bounced. Yes, so the way email works is that your domain, I use a custom domain with Convertkit, your domain has a reputation. So the more of a reputation you get as being a spammer, the less things like Gmail and stuff are going to actually show your emails. So in that way, it hurts your deliverability, where you deliver all of your emails, but they don't actually get into the right inbox. They just go into whatever inbox happens to be, like, where it either goes to spam or to promotions or whatever. So let's see, bounced, we have people like that. Why do some bounced people not have an original created at? That is annoying. And a lot of complaint people don't even have a... Why? Okay, so we are gonna have to start with the full subscriber list, aren't we? So let's see, ls public data, we have all subscribers, and all subscribers should have at least a created at, right? So that should tell us when everyone was created. Well, Candy Cane, it's not Convertkit choosing. Convertkit sends them the best way they can. It's Gmail choosing not to accept that email is delivered. So it's not Convertkit's fault. It's basically spam filter's fault. Okay. So we're gonna go from all subscribers, and then let's see, Somaya was created on, and then it became cancelled. Let's look at this person, because I am extremely confused about how this data set works. So I'm going to look up this particular person and see what the thing says. So this says that they subscribed on April 4th, 2019. So April 4th, 2019, but they are currently cancelled. So I can look at when did the person cancel. Subject sent. So the last email was sent on May 27th after he subscribed on April 8th, which means he should show up in the inactive subscribers list, and I can look for him here, and here he is in this is total bullshit. So Convertkit doesn't actually tell me when somebody unsubscribed. Is that true? Does Convertkit really not tell me when somebody unsubscribed? Let's look at... No, not confirm. No. Oh, come on. Work faster. So we have canceled subscribers. And it just tells us when they subscribed, but it doesn't tell us when they unsubscribed. Holy shit. That is how useless How do I find out when somebody unsubscribed? This is frustrating. So you can't, can you really not tell when somebody unsubscribed on Convertkit? Like, that is the most basic information, that is super basic information that you would want. So we know when they subscribed, we don't know when they unsubscribed. Okay, so what else can we check? How can we get that data? Let's see, Convertkit API. Will that tell us when the people unsubscribed? Forms, account, subscribers, list subscribers, list tags, list subscribers. Let's see. Email address created at filter subscribe. Oh, come on. List subscribers. I just want to see. Returns a list of your subscribers. For unsubscribes only, use the cancelled at value for sort field param. Currently the only supported extra sort field. Search subscribers by email address by providing the email address param. API secret, then we have the page from updated to sort order, sort field, and email address. Seriously? So total subscribers page, for ID, first name, email address, when they were created, and what's their current state. Right. So what else can I do? Let's see, broadcasts. Created at and subject, get stats, recipient count, open rate, click rate, unsubscribe count, total clicks, status, sent progress from a specific broadcast. So we can get stats for a broadcast, but we can only get it for one at a time, which is kind of silly. And we can't actually get... Yeah, so I can know... So that's the thing. I can know when a broadcast was made, and I can know when a broadcast was made and how many recipients it had, but I can't know who exactly it went to. So even if I get that data, it's still not going to help me know Yeah, well, the API is not useless, it's just useless for what I wanted to use it for, which is quite unfortunate. So what can we do? So we got all the form data, and we have all of the subscribers, which are nicely anonymized, but we don't know when people unsubscribed, which is annoying because that was the main thing I was trying to find out. So the other thing we can do is, what can we do? We can still play Fortnite. We can still make a data viz of which emails sparked joy and which didn't. So that is still something we can do. But what can we get from the broadcast? We can get the subject and stuff. So we're gonna use that. Okay. Unsubscribed, bounced, or complained. Cry, cry, cry. Where is a good cry emoji? Okay. Fortnite for 12-year-olds. It probably is for 12-year-olds, but who doesn't enjoy going in and killing a bunch of 12-year-olds? That sounds like a great fun. Okay, let's try the broadcast API. So overview, planning your integration. What? I just want to quickly get, let's see if there is a Convertkit API already for Node. That would make life a lot easier. Oh, I should also close that so people aren't reading emails. And who's Ninja and why does he make money by playing Fortnite? So we're gonna do this, and we're gonna actually, let's just do it like this. So we're going to parse all of the subscribers. So parse subscribers, and we're still gonna anonymize them, and we're still gonna use that. And let's see, parse subscribers, and we pretty much just run that and get the new file. Right, from all subscribers, and run that. Node anonymize ck data. Now let's see if there is a Convertkit library. There is not a Convertkit library. There is Slate, Editor Core, Color Picker. Convertkit has a bunch of things, but not the API thing. Okay, so let's see, Vim, public data, subscribers.csv. We have the anonymized stuff and when people were created, and oh, we don't know when they unsubscribed, so we don't really have that data. Let's remove that part. So unsubscribed, we're just gonna remove that because nobody will have it. And run the node anonymize again. Now let's see. So how do I get the data quickly? We can run Okay, how do I get the planning your integration, email capture, API secret, responses, bad data, account, show the current account. Let's just do it with broadcasts and see what happens. Okay, so we're gonna get the broadcast data. So touch fetch broadcasts.js, and we open fetch broadcast.js like that, and then I think there's a node fetch that we have to use, node fetch, because it's easier to use fetch than it is to use like whatever built-in stuff that we have. Lightweight module that brings window fetch to Node.js. Perfect. Okay, so yarn add --dev node -fetch, and we say const fetch equals require node -fetch, like that. And then what I'm gonna do, or just code file.js, yeah, that's right. I always forget that I can do that. So we have that one. Now what I need is my secret, which I think is going to be my real ConvertKit secret, which is going to be a bit of a problem. Your profile account info API key. Okay, I can just use this API key. So const API key equals, let's get it from secrets. So unfetch. Why unfetch? Isn't it easier to just use fetch, which already exists? Vim secrets.json, and we say ck key equals this stuff. Bam, and we say vim.getIgnore. Yeah, I am going to use node fetch, but I'm not sure what unfetch does. Does that work in Node? Bare minimum fetch polyfill in 500 bytes. I don't know if this works on. I'm pretty sure this doesn't work in Node. Use in Node.js, yeah. So that doesn't work yet. So I'm gonna use node fetch, and I'm gonna add secrets.json to my getIgnore. Secrets.json. So node fetch. Let's see. Then we can say, where are we? Curl HTTPS and my secret API key. So we say const ck key equals require./secrets.json, like that, and then we can do fetch of all of this stuff with my secret key, ck key, like that, and then we run what? Then we get the, yeah, I don't know why there are so many fetch packages. We parse that with JSON, then we get the result. So we say function get broadcasts. Come on, why is my computer so slow right now? I can barely code. Async function return await, actually const broadcasts, or let's say result equals await fetch, and then we console log the result, and I'm going to say get broadcasts, run that code, and let's see what it does. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they all evolved from some sort of somebody doing experiments Node fetch broadcasts, yes. API Convertkit, authorization failed. API key not valid. So it needs to be the actual secret key, which means I'm going to hide my screen for a second while I get my secret key, because I don't want you guys seeing that one. So secret key, API secret, show. Wow, my entire computer is way too slow right now. Vim secrets. Open secrets. Where am I? Come on, computer. Secrets.json. Replace the key. Okay. So I got my key. And let's see if that's going to work. Wonderful. Okay, I am back. Now we're gonna try that again. Fetch broadcasts, and let's see if the API key is going to work. Yes. All right, so we've got all of the broadcasts, and that seems to work fine enough. Now what else should we do? Should we add? Yes. So I'm gonna go through all of those, and so we're getting the broadcasts. Then I'm going to get the stats for each of the broadcasts, and then we can start working on the visualization. Although I think I'm gonna need a snack because I've been coding for a while, so I might take a break after that. Okay, so get stats. So for each of them we're going to go and get our stats. So this is going to be return result.broadcasts, right? So we get the broadcasts, and then say, actually, let's just, what drinks are you mixing? Water and Red Bull. So I'm mixing a Bang, which is, I think it's a relatively new kind of energy drink, at least here in San Francisco, and I like it a lot, and I'm also mixing it with water. And before I had some tea as well. So get broadcasts, then we go through all of the broadcasts, and we say, should we just go one by one? Yeah, let's go one by one, because I think otherwise we might get throttled if we try. I've heard people complain that Convertkit is pretty heavy on the throttling, so we're gonna issue the requests one by one and hope for the best. So let's see, broadcast, we get an ID, stats, recipients, and so on. Broadcast ID and secret. Cool. So we get the result, we get the broadcasts, which means we can do it like this. Broadcasts, await fetch, then we go through, so for broadcast of broadcasts, I just want to make sure I know what that does. Broadcast, because I always forget what the difference is between for off and for in. Convertkit is in fact similar to Mailchimp, yes. Okay, so it's for off, great. The difference between Convertkit and Mailchimp is that Convertkit is more focused on automation and giving you a visual workflow for your emails, which is great. I'm not using it nearly as much as I should, whereas Mailchimp is more focused on actual newsletter. I am essentially using an async iterator, Doruk. It's just that I'm doing it a lazy way. So we're gonna go for each of them. It's going to be let's say const stats equals stats equals await fetch of this URL. Come on. Await fetch of URL. Like that. Then we take the broadcast ID, which is broadcast.id, and our secret key $CK key, that is our stats, and then our stats are just this stuff. So we're gonna say const broadcasts. So let's see, const result equals an object. Now let's make it an array. So it's going to be an array, and then we're going to say result.push. We're going to insert something that's going to have broadcast data. So it's going to be the broadcast itself. So that's going to give us the ID, the created at, and the subject. Or actually, let's splat that in. And then we're going to splat in also stats.broadcast.stats, right? So await fetch, then result goes to result.json, and in the end we console log the result, right? Yeah. What happens if we do break? Let's break off after the first one so that we can make sure this is working. Not node fetch. Okay, so we get the result, which has an ID, created at, a subject, and then recipients, open rate, click rate, unsubscribes, total clicks, showing total clicks, status completed, and progress 100. Wonderful. So that is all we need. Wow, I sent an email that 32 people unsubscribed from. That is pretty sad. Well, I guess it's not that sad. That's a pretty low unsubscribe rate, to be honest, with a pretty high open rate. Cool. So that works. We console log the result, which gives us the data. So after we get the broadcasts, we can use the same thing we used in the scrape type form to write it to our data set. So anonymize ck data, fetch broadcasts, fs write file sync broadcasts.json, JSON stringify of the result. Now I'm gonna run that. I'm gonna say const fs equals require fs. So I'm gonna run that and hope that it just works. And while that's happening, I need to go to the restroom. So node fetch broadcasts JS, and I'm hoping that's working, and I will be right back. All right, so let's see if this worked. It seems to have worked. ls minus lh of public data, and we have 14 kilobytes of broadcast data with all of the other stuff, so should be fine. Come on, Kiwi, take your seed and leave my sandwich alone. Okay, well, let's see what happens next. Git status. Let's remove a bunch of data that we don't want to be in the public repository. Ls public data, rm, let's see, public data, active subscribers, public data, active subscribers, public data, all subscribers, public data, inactive subscribers, public data, bounced subscribers, and public data complaint subscribers. Okay, get status. Cool. Look at that stuff. Now, git commit minus a minus m. Scraping script and dataset. Okay, so we've loaded the full dataset. Now what can we do with it? So I can now run yarn start to get my React app running. Let's see. Okay, so that's gonna be the default React app. And then what kind of data? So the question now is what kind of wow. And apparently my computer is struggling. So if my computer keeps struggling like this, that could be a problem, because it's having a hard time even like loading the page, let alone how are we going to load datasets and parse stuff. Okay, so we've got that. Now what kind of visualization can we make about this? So there's obviously a timeline. And that timeline has data happening. Yeah, why are you complaining about this? I told you never to complain about that. So, let's try closing some of these tabs. Come on. Okay, got that. Now let's see. Maybe we can look for. So one idea I had was to create a timeline, basically flies through all of my broadcasts, orders them by time, and then does some sort of animation for each of them. That would be cool. What else can we do? We can also see a timeline of what makes what sparks joy. Coming up with visualization ideas is hard, because I don't want it to be just a graph or anything like that. I want something that actually looks cool and works great. So, but I am apparently a terrible designer. So let's see if the big book of visualization ideas has something for me. I know I have that book somewhere. Well, I can't find it. So, I used to have, or I probably still have, a book somewhere that gives you essentially ideas of how to visualize different data depending on what kind of data set you have. It basically maps data set types to visualization types. But because we don't have that, we're gonna have to create something of our own. So let's start playing around. We can start by just getting a timeline of the broadcasts and rendering that and showing their titles. So there's an idea. We can have a like an animated thing that flies from left to right and gives us titles, and those titles have hearts around them based on how much joy one of those sparked. That would be a one way to do it. So yeah, let's give that a shot and then see what it looks like, and then we can go from there. So I'm gonna open the app.js file, this one, change to React mode, and then we can remove all of this stuff. And do I want the app CSS? I don't really want app CSS. So we're gonna remove app CSS as well, and we're just gonna have a div that is a class name for the app. So it's empty right now, and it's going to render a large SVG. So mdiv, like that. Oh, come on. And div, and inside we're going to render. Should we do it with an SVG? We can start with having, actually let's start with just loading the data, right? So we're gonna say, let's just say loaded broadcasts.length broadcasts emails, and let's see. So then we have const broadcasts. Wow, this is going to be difficult if I can't even type. Set broadcasts equals, actually let's do const broadcasts equals use data set, and then we're going to import use state from React. So we import use state from React, and we say function use data set. That is going to be our custom hook. It's going to have a const broadcasts and you set broadcasts equals use state that starts as an empty array, and it returns the broadcasts as an object because we're going to add other stuff to it. Then we can add D3. So new tab, loaded 0 emails, perfect. Still loading. Wow, my computer is very slow right now. Let's do yarn add D3, installing that. And we're gonna use D3 because D3 makes it very easy to load data sets. So we're going to say import asterisk as D3 from D3 like that. Come on, install. This is taking forever. Okay, still taking forever. Ba-ba-da-bum. Okay, did you finish loading? Saved log file, whatever. Okay, so we've got D3. Can't resolve D3. Yes, you can. and then we say d3.json, I think it's JSON, of data slash, we said broadcasts.json. Come on, d3.json data broadcast.json, and we get, how do we get it? So we say then data, and let's see, console log of data, and let's see what happens. So that is compiling, and then we're going to be console logging it, and this entire process is going to be somewhat painful with my slow computer. Okay. Right, so if I'm not sure how we can speed this up, because it's basically OBS is using up all of my computing power, so I don't have enough left over for running JavaScript, which is pretty annoying. But we get all of the recipients and stuff. That's great. Awesome. So we get the JSON, and we can then say let's do set. So for each of those, we're gonna go through and we're gonna parse the dates. So we say set broadcasts with the data, where the data gets mapped, and we map it as D, then we return the entire D, but we overwrite what were we overwriting? It is called, oh, we can't console, created at. So created at is going to be a new date of new date of d.created at, and yeah, that's gonna be the only one that we actually have to parse. Come on. So then we set that to the broadcast, which will trigger a re-render in the main app, and the main app will then show us how many emails were loaded. Loaded 50 emails. Why does that not sound like, actually no, 50 emails for 6 months sounds okay. So let's see. We've got that. Then we're gonna have to sort them. Should we sort them here? Yeah, let's sort. So we do a sort of A and B, and we return b.created at minus a dot, oh come on, b.created at minus a dot created at. That gives us a sorting function, which doesn't seem to be working. Oh right, because this needs to be in like that. So now our broadcasts are sorted by when they were created, from the oldest to the latest, which means we can do what? Loaded 50 broadcast emails, and we can say, did I actually only send 50? 50 seems like a strangely round number. Let's look at API Convertkit and see if 50 is the limit or something. Convertkit API, getting started, broadcasts, let's see, broadcasts, come on, broadcasts, list broadcasts, returns a list of all the broadcasts for your account. Okay, so I guess maybe I did send exactly 50, but that sounds suspicious. How can I figure out if I actually sent only 50 broadcasts? I can go into the login page and look at broadcasts, and this will not tell me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. and there are at least 60 here, because there's 6 per page, and there's 10 per page, and we have 7 pages even, which means the API didn't even work. Why did it only return 50 of them? Let's go back to my fetching broadcasts, and we're gonna comment this stuff out. Comment and React mode broadcasts, and let's see what is the response. Console log response. Let's see if there's some sort of pagination that I have to use. Node fetch broadcasts. What does it tell us? So the broadcasts, and why does it only show the last 50? Response.broadcasts.length. What does that say? It says 50. So there's 50. How do I get to the older ones? Apparently I can't. Great. So that's annoying as well. Come on, developers. Is there a way for me to do pagination? Let's see. Page. Page 1. The page of results being default value is 1. Each page of results will contain up to 10 purchases, up to 50 purchases. But the other API basics, what happens if we put in page equals 2? Do we get different results? Does that work? So maybe there's a way to just hack. We can hack around. Okay, so we can just manually create pagination. We're going to do that. So response is going to be const response const page 1. Page 1 is going to be page 1. That's going to give us 50, and then 65. That sounds about right. And then we have page 2. Const page 2 is going to be just page 2. So this is very hacky right now. And then we can say const broadcasts equals dot page 1 broadcasts and page 2 broadcasts, right? Then we get the result, and we're gonna do all of this stuff. Now I'm gonna run node fetch broadcasts, and it's going to keep parsing in the background. And in the meantime, we can go here and start playing with the data visualization part. So we get this should be a use effect. So use effect, when we run the effect, we start loading all of the data, and we run that on mount. We also need to get use effect from React. So we say d3 JSON, then we're going to have a cool. So we parsed all the we got the broadcasts. Now let's reload this page here, and we get 65 emails. Wonderful. Alright, so we're loading the emails into the page. Then we also have the forms data and the subscriber data, right? But let's start with the emails. So what can we do with emails? We can visualize. What can we visualize? We can visualize what if we make a stream graph? I think a stream graph makes sense, because a stream graph will tell us when the emails went out, and they can tell us how many people they went out to and how many people. Basically, we can have the open rate and all of the other rates. That seems like it would work. Do we want to add animations though? Let's see. Okay, so we've got this stuff. We've got the data, we're loading the emails, and then we can do let's start with just a why am I having so much trouble with this? Let's start with showing. Should we start with a steam graph or a stream graph? It's not a steam graph, it's a stream graph. We can start with that. Oh, it's getting hot in here. Okay, so we've got that stuff. Now let's see. We're gonna make an SVG that goes through the entire screen, should we? I think we should. There should be a timeline actually. So we have something that starts at the beginning and ends at the end, and then that timeline will show where the emails happened. Yes, that will make the most sense. So we're gonna have a timeline with the emails, and let's use let's start with placing all of these guys on a timeline. So then that will help us see. That will help give us more ideas. So we're gonna we're gonna create an SVG, which is going to take up the entire screen. So actually we can do it this way. So SVG. This SVG has a let's make it a styled component. Yarn add styled components. Yeah, and we're gonna say const svg equals style.svg where height is 100 vh and width is also 100 vhs, and we import styled from styled components like that. So we've got the SVG now. Reload the page. Oh, I'm still waiting for it to install. Great. Why is my computer struggling so much? Jesus. Okay, so that's running. Now we're gonna have the broadcasts. Then we're going to create a D3 scale that's going to go from the oldest broadcast to the latest broadcast. So we're gonna say const x scale is going to be d3.scale linear that has the domain goes from so it has the value blah. Domain will go from, let's see, d3 scale. Oh, we're also gonna need to use dimensions. So domain will go from d3.extent of broadcasts, where we take each broadcast as d.created@. That's going to be our extent of the domain. And then What is this complaining about? Expected? Yes. So my computer is so slow right now that VS Code squiggly lines and stuff are falling behind. And then the range is going to need to be a width. So let's look at my use dimensions code, because that's the one I'm going to be using. Yarn add swizet use dimensions. Let's see. So let's see, where do I do this? Yarn add react use dimensions, and then we say const ref and width equals use dimensions like that, and we import it up here. We say import use dimensions from react use dimensions like that. So we get the dimensions, we get the width, and then we're gonna say the range of our scale is going to go from, let's start it at 10 pixels and go to the full width. So we're gonna say 10 to width minus 10. That's the range. And here we can say ref equals ref. Hey fuzzy buddy, you're late today. How are you doing? So now let's console log our X scale. So we have the horizontal scale. Now we're gonna go through and we're just gonna put a dot. We're gonna render a little circle for each broadcast. And SVG, and we say return SVG ref, and we go broadcasts.map. For each of them, we're going to return a, right now we're just going to return a circle with a cx at x scale of d dot created at, and a cy is going to be, let's put it at 500 pixels. cy 500 pixels, so they're going to be somewhere roughly in the middle, and a radius of 5 like that. So that's our broadcasts, and now let's see if that works. Error circle attribute cx expected length got none. Okay, each child in a list, yes, get bounding client rect is not a function. How is that not a freaking function? Motherfucker. Okay, let's try not with a styled SVG. What if we just say a normal, this is a normal SVG that has a width of 100 VHs, or what is it? Is it VH or is it 100 VH? I always forget what the, is it fun with viewport units? VW. Okay, so VW height equals 100 VH. What's the new Chrome theme? So the new Chrome theme is actually, I switched to Brave. So I'm using the Brave browser, which looks a little different than Chrome. And I have a semi-random, okay, here they are. So we can put this not at 500 pixels, but at, let's say, 200 pixels. Come on. Reload the page. Okay, so these are my these should be my, what are they called? My broadcasts. This is when I sent them out. So yeah, the new Chrome theme is, I actually switched to Brave and it looks a little different, but it looks nice, I think. So let's do width and height, and let's put them at height divided by 2, height divided by 2, so they should now be right in the middle. Yes, I know that there's an error. And those are my broadcasts. Okay, come on, load. I know you can do it. I know you can load. And these are now just uniformly spread out through the year based on when I was sending stuff. Oh, come on, reload the page faster. Great. So I don't know what all these large Okay, so those are my broadcasts or the emails that I sent out. Let's give it a bit more of a buffer. So the range is not gonna go from 10 to width minus 10, but from, let's do 50 to width minus 50, right? Let's see if that works. It should work. There we go. But let's do 30 instead. So we've got that. Now we need to add a. Is my stream really laggy? What do you mean? What do you think? What do you mean it's laggy? Laggy in what way, Fuzzy Buddy? Is it just like? Oh, come on. So I don't know what these large spaces are, but it should be fine. So now that we have the broadcasts, we can make them, we can make their size okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have a, let's do a broadcast at x of, we're gonna keep the x scale is d dot created at underscore at. So we're gonna create a broadcast what's it called, a broadcast component, which is going to render an individual broadcast. So x and then y is going to be at height divided by 2, and data is going to be d, right? So then we create a broadcast, and for now I'm just gonna make it in here, or should I make a new file for that? Let's keep it in here. Yeah, let's make a new file. So we're gonna import broadcast from /broadcast. Then we create a new file, import react from react, and we say const broadcast equals a method that gets x, y, and data and returns stuff. Right now it's going to return null, and then we export default the broadcast like that. Broadcast.js. Oh, not JST. God damn it, computer. Rename. How do I rename a file again? Rename broadcast.js. Okay, so my computer is definitely being a problem. And let's see, why won't it let me switch to React mode? React. Okay, come on, come on. You can let me resize Windows. You can do that, computer. So we've got that, and it's going to be invisible for now. So then the broadcast is going to currently return a, what's it returning? Let's make it return a circle for now. So we're gonna say circle, which is cx equals x, and then cy equals y, and radius equals, let's say 3. And this is just so we can see that broadcasts are in fact rendering. There we go. That's all of my broadcasts. Now let's make them more useful. So one idea I have is where we can render them as email emojis, and each of the emojis is going to, like, the size of the emoji could represent what the open rate was. And I think that makes sense. Yes. But then, where should the open rate scale live? Yeah, that makes the most sense. So we're gonna do that. So I didn't end up drawing any sketches of what I had in mind, so let's just keep going. But let's make a size here, and we're gonna make a size scale. Const size scale equals d3.scale_linear, where the domain is going to be d3.extent of our broadcasts, where each of them what was it, open rate? Open rate, I think, is the one that we can use, and the range is going to go from, let's say, 2 pixels to 20 pixels. That makes sense? Yes, I think that makes sense. Size scale, and we're gonna here say size equals size scale of d.open rate, and let's see if that works. So here then we're gonna use size as that. Let's see if that gives us anything interesting. It kind of does. So the open rate, isn't that useful because it's pretty much the same all the time, isn't it? Right. So it is pretty much the same. Actually, let's filter out all broadcasts that went to fewer than 1,000 people, because those behave differently and they aren't what I'm trying to analyze. So here we're going to sort it, but we're also going to filter the data, where let's open the file. So broadcasts.json, so the JSON has open rate, click rate, total clicks, unsubscribes, recipients. So everywhere that recipients, d.recipients is less than 1,000, so we're keeping the ones where it's more than 1,000, and I think that's gonna make this look more interesting. There we go. So this is now a more useful sizing data, right? This is now telling us, we can kind of tell from this. What if we say scale log? Will that make it even better? So on a logarithmic scale, we might be able to see the differences better. So the idea is that now the size of the circle is telling us what the open rate of each particular email was. Error circle attribute, expected length, yes. How does scale log work? And why isn't it working? Let's see. GitHub D3, look at the stuff. D3, and we can go into the wiki. Right, so I think people aren't watching this because it's either too long or too laggy or just not interesting. Scale log, D3 scale log, come on. Quantitative logarithmic scale. So it needs so for scale linear, let's actually use scale time. That will be more useful. Now for scale log, why aren't you working? Log invert log base constructs a new continuous scale with the specified domain and range. The base 10, the default interpolator and clamping disabled. If domain is not specified, if range. So why is this not creating things for us? Come on, reload the page. Come on, work. Each child in a list should have a unique, yes, let's do key is d.id. So let's make React stop complaining about that. Prettier, do the thing. Now let's see, what will this do for us? So the log scale is not working for some reason, and I'm not sure why that is, but let's try scale linear again. So scale linear works. What is the extent of this stuff? Console log d. Wow, computer, come on. Console log of the d3 extent. What does that give me? So I'm waiting for it. So it's undefined, undefined, and then it works. Right. So we don't want all of this to run until broadcasts are actually defined. So we're gonna say if broadcasts dot length and right. So here we're gonna do something. If broadcasts dot length is less than 1, then we are returning a loading page. So it's just gonna say loading. Identifier expected. Length is an identifier. So now we can dude, stop that. Return p of loading. Will that make you work? P loading, come on. Loading data. Let's see. Loading data. Received none. Why did you even get there? Okay, so it's loading data and then it shows up and it still gets a bunch of bad stuff. Oh, because it needs to render the SVG. That's annoying. So if broadcast.length, and then here we need to know that both the width and the height are defined. So if the width and the height aren't defined yet, we shouldn't render all of the width and height and then we do stuff. Let's see if that works. So loading data and then it loads without errors. Now I think I can change this to scale log and it should just work. Nope. Radius gets a nan attribute. So let's see. What is console log size scale dot domain? I want to see what the domain is first. So because knowing the domain will help us know why this isn't working, and it's not working because we have a 0 in our data set. Apparently there is a broadcast that has a 0 open rate that nobody ever opened, which is unfortunate. Why do I have a broadcast that nobody ever opened? Let's see. Open rate 0. So there is a 0 open rate for this new broadcast that I never actually sent. Okay. So we also need to know if, status must be completed. So we're gonna filter out everything with an uncompleted status. So filter by recipients, then we filter d.status equals completed. And we reload this thingy and it should now show my data. Perfect. So with the logarithmic scale, it looks a little better, not much. My battery died again. Let's replace that. All right. Let's see. Wow, it's 5 p.m. already? Okay, am I back? I should be back. Come on, camera live. Perfect. Okay, I am back. Now let's see. So with a logarithmic scale, this works a little better. But let's make it even more apparent by going from 1 to 30 pixels. So I'm trying to tease out. Well, that doesn't work at all. Let's do 2 to 25 maybe. Now, why isn't it working better with a logarithmic scale? And why do I have things with an open rate of only 8%? That's kind of sad. So we can see that everything has roughly the same open rates. What else can we try to show? So then we need to make it so that, so if these are our emails, we can show them with yeah, let's do that. So I'm gonna do this. Scale git status, git add source, git commit -a-n, visualizing open rates. So these are my open rates. Then the next thing we can do, we need to run an analysis of how many people. How can we do that though? So basically the next thing I want to do is show how many people liked something. Let's change this to 99v8 or 99vh so that we don't have the scroll bars, because the scroll bars are bothering me. Okay, so how can we show this in a, actually, are there any other scales we can use? D3 scale, we have a quantized, threshold, quantile, ordinal, linear, continuous, identity, log. Log scales are similar to linear scales. Log, C continuous, invert, base. If a base sets the base for this logarithmic scale to the specified value. Current base with the default base is 10. Clamp, interpolate, tick format, Like continuous, nice, except extends the domain to integer powers of base. For example, for the main, okay, whatever. So what can we do next? We can show them, let's do that. Let's show them as textual little emojis. So we can say text x equals x and y equals y. Then we say anchor, text anchor equals middle. And we say, then we render the emoji. So a letter emoji right there. And we take out this one. Text, what is this complaining about? Emoji should be wrapped in a span. I cannot wrap it in a span because I am doing this stuff here. So I can't wrap it in a span because I'm rendering SVG, and SVG doesn't have spans. But what we can do is font size can be size. Let's see what happens if we do that. Loading data, and you can't really tell how big they are, can you? Text anchor, how do we do centering? So font size equals $$ size points. Will that make it better? That's a little better. Now, so they're anchored in the middle. Now the next thing we need is how do we vertically center a text? So SVG text vertical center. Alignment baseline. So we can say alignment baseline equals, so before edge central, center. Let's see what happens next. Now they should all be around the same. I don't think that's working. The alignment baseline attribute specifies how an object is aligned with respect to its parent. No, that is not what I wanted. Text top. Vertical alignment of text element in SVG. Okay. What? Okay, what if we say alt glyph? So we're saying that this is an alternative glyph, which I think will also make things a little happier. Will that work? Come on, reload the page. And oh no, then it's not showing. So what if we try dominant baseline like that? Dominant baseline, and we say that it is central, whatever that means, central. Okay, now they're all on the center line and kind of bobbing up and down. So we've got that part. Now what else do we need? Now we need them to what do we need? I want each of the broadcasts to have a way. Oh, so my girlfriend's asking me what I want to eat for dinner. I don't know. Something tasty. I might actually end up breaking this into 2 separate live codings and take a break now because I've been at it for 3 hours already. But let's see. So we've got this thing. I don't think there's enough of a difference here to make this apparent. What if we say open rate times 10? Will that make it work better? Near. What if, let's take the max open rate, bring me something delicious. That is actually exactly what I said. So we're gonna go from a 1% open rate to whatever the max is, and because this is a logarithmic scale, I think that's gonna trick it into giving us, nope, it didn't, into giving us usefully looking stuff. Okay, the open rate is not very useful. Let's try extent anyway. So extent. So here we can see the problem that all of my open rates are pretty much the same. So instead what we can do is go back into broadcast JSON and look for a different one. So we have open rates, which I think is super useful. And then we have unsubscribes, which would be also probably very similar. Click rate, that's not super useful. I mean, click rate is not really that useful of a thing either. So open rates are all pretty much the same, which is boring. But what we can do is keep the open rates, and let's see if we have the responses JSON. Oh shit. So can we take the responses and figure out which email they belong to? Or maybe if we tie them to a form. So now what I'm trying to figure out is there a way, so these are open rates. Now I want to figure out if there's a way to get responses, so whether it sparked joy or didn't spark joy, and can we correlate that with the email that it was assigned to. And I think the best way to do that is to basically bucketize these things and create a bucket for each time, and then say whether if the response came between those two, then it belongs to that broadcast. And it's not perfect, I know. Oh, but we can do it with forms. I think we know that forms were all created on the same day that the broadcast was sent, or within a day up and down. And then we have form IDs that map to responses, so we can do that. So let's get a D3 JSON of forms. So we say d3.json of data/forms/forms.json, then data is going to do what for us? Oh, so but we should await this because we're gonna need the broadcast data. So let's do a const broadcasts equals await d3 JSON, then data blah, and we're gonna return that. I didn't do anything, fuzzy buddy, but I'm happy that it's not laggy anymore. Okay, so function, it's going to be an async function use data set, which I think is gonna work. No, it's not gonna work, is it? Can we use async hooks? I don't think we can. But what we can do is we can in here say that this is an async function. So we're going to have an async function that doesn't return anything but immediately gets called. So Fuzzy Buddy asks, if I wasn't a programmer, what would I be? That is a very good question. I had a semi-credible idea of being either an artist of some sort or a writer, but I ended up with, being a programmer, because honestly I think when you're choosing between being an artist of either type, so set broadcast, so I was thinking of being either a visual artist or a writing artist, and I think out of all those three options, so artist, or engineer, I think engineer was the best option to pick, because now I get to, it's a viable career, is what I would call it. Oh, come on, scroll up, down, so we can say const forms equals await d3 JSON with the data, so we get data from our forms. Now here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bucketize these forms into we're going to create a quantized scale. I think a quantized scale will automatically give us, let's see, sequential quantize, threshold, ordinal. Quantized scales are similar to linear scales, except they use a discrete rather than continuous range. So scale quantize, domain 0 to 1. Perfect. That is exactly what I need. So we're going to say perm. So const buckets is going to be a D3 scale quantize. So this is going to be, I don't remember HBO's Silicon Valley that much because I never watched it, because it was hitting too close to home. It was just too similar to what I was doing in life at the time that I didn't want to, and I live in this startup world, so it was hard to watch, so I didn't. Associate forms with their respective email or broadcast. So we have const bucket equals D3 scale quantize, where we get our domain is going to be the domain is just going to be broadcasts.map d.created at. So those are our quantizers. I think that should work. And for our range, no, we need something better. So I'm basically trying to abuse the quantized scale to do bucketing for me, so I don't have to think about it too much. So I'm trying to figure out what my domain and what my range should be. For the domain, I needed to So my so my domain are the timestamps, and then my range are going to be, we can say the range is different forms. Yes, so different broadcast IDs. Map d.id, right? Yes, so that should work. We should now be able to go through all of our forms and look at where they fall on the buckets, or on the which email are they most likely associated with. But first we gotta check that the count of forms and the count of buckets and the count of broadcast is the same. So we get, say, console log forms.length and broadcasts.length, and that should be roughly similar. So we're gonna console log it here. The developer server has disconnected because my computer is just that slow. 54 versus 57, that is good enough for me. So then we can go through the forms. So forms equals, let's do let forms. Forms equals forms.map, where each form is going to get what? We're going to return an object that gets the whole form, but it also gets the email ID or broadcast ID. Let's do broadcast ID, which is the buckets of new date from form.created at, right? Is that what we have? Forms.json, they have a last updated at. So we have a last updated at, and that should work in theory, right? Right. So then we can console log the forms and we will see if it works. Loading data. Kiwi is over there in the living room annoying my girlfriend, which I think is an admirable thing to be doing for him. he should do more of that. So let's see, will this load? Will it run? Why is my computer being so slow? Come on, just do stuff. Loading data, there we go. Forms, so each one has a broadcast ID. So this one was last updated on July 26th. And let's open broadcasts and look at the correct broadcast. Created at. That doesn't work at all. That didn't work. Okay, so let's look at another random one. Did they all get assigned to the same broadcast? 271. This one was, oh come on. Last updated at April 15th. Created at July 26th. That doesn't make sense either. Okay, that didn't work. So let's try printing out the domain. What is the domain of our buckets? Buckets.domain console log buckets domain blah console. Come on, show me stuff. Oh no, don't log forms. Okay, so right, so we need to maybe do .getTime, and then let's see. Let's try that again. July 26th form. There should be a broadcast that was also on July 26th, because it definitely, the form definitely doesn't belong to this one. But let's see, 2019-07-26 is the latest one. It was created at 16/19, but the form was last updated at 16/20. So what happens if we just do it by dates? Let's see. This one from the 22nd got assigned to, again, wrong. Okay, so the quantized scale approach doesn't work. What else can we try? How can we find where things fell between? Okay, let's see. Quantize, what happens if I do buckets range? Come on, run the thing. So the range looks correct, mostly. Why is this always so hard? Wow, it's getting really hot here because of the sun coming through the window. So let's see. Forms. Buckets, range. How else can we associate them? I know that they should usually be created on at least the same day. So what we can do is get our, yes, so we're gonna get dates for each of the broadcasts. We're gonna get the date, and then we're gonna use that to associate the IDs, and that should be roughly good enough. So we're gonna do bucket or date ID, and we're gonna go through broadcasts. Come on. We're gonna say object.from entry. Come on, just help me. Object.from object.fromEntries. I know that exists. I'm pretty sure that exists. Object from entries, it does exist. So we say object from entries, then we say broadcasts.map, and we get the broadcast, or let's do D because D is the usual iterator. Then we say we want the created at. So come on. Oh wow. Okay, let me click on stuff. If we get JavaScript date string, JavaScript date object, so we're gonna get d dot created at dot get year, right? Is it get year? JavaScript date methods. Come on. Ooh, we have formatters. We can use D3 formatters. I always forget about that. And my computer is painfully slow. Yay! GitHub D3. Let's see. So basically what I'm doing now is creating a mapping of dates to specific broadcast IDs. So what I'm gonna do is create a date formatter with D3 that is going to take a timestamp and convert it to a date. So wiki format time formats. Time formats, time parse, time format, UTC, time format, alias for blah. How do I create a new formatter? Okay, so we're gonna say const date equals d3.timeFormat, where the date is just %x. Okay, %x. So we are gonna say date of d.created at, and we get d.id. So that's gonna give us, it's gonna create the object for us, date ID. Then we take here, instead of buckets, we're gonna say date ID of date of form dot last updated at. Right. And then we're gonna console log the forms, and let's see if that works. So loading data, now we got the forms. The first form here has a broadcast ID of undefined. Wonderful. Oh, because we need to parse that. New date of form last updated at. Will that make it work? Broadcast ID, this one for a form that was last updated on the 26th of July, and that works finally. Okay, so we now have all of the forms and their responses associated with a particular. So we now have forms that are associated with broadcast IDs. Do forms have anything useful for us, or do we really only care about the responses? Theme, links, settings. Okay, we don't need any of that stuff, but we do want responses. So we're gonna say set broadcasts. So let forms perform with their respective email. And then we're gonna fetch broadcast responses, and we're gonna use those responses to do stuff. Wow, 1 viewer, 4 viewers. Okay, so let's see. Perform set broadcast. What else was I gonna do? We're gonna do. Then we say d3.json. Yeah. So we're gonna say const response let responses. let responses equals await d3.json of data slash responses.json. Let me scroll down. d3 json responses.json, right? Yep. And okay, so we've got the forms. Aha, we actually also need to, we're using forms only to map responses to their broadcast. So we're gonna say forms are going to be object.entries of forms map, and each one is going to return a form.id mapped to a broadcast ID, like that. Right? It should work. You can actually, we don't even need this stuff. Don't need the return. We can just say pub, and that should work. So then responses are const responses.then. We get a row. Should we call it a row? Let's call it a row. And for each one of those, we're going to where am I? Come on. Return a, like that, and we're gonna say we return the entire row, but we also return a broadcast ID, which takes from forms of row dot, is it form ID? Let's check, let's look it up. Vim public data responses.json, they have a form. So it's just row.form. Those are going to be our responses, like that. And then we can say set responses as responses. Right? Okay. So then we need the responses here. So we're going to say const responses and set responses equals useState, which starts as an empty array. And we are going to return responses here as well. So broadcast responses, broadcasts, and responses. If broadcast length is less than 1 or responses.length is less than 1, then we are still loading. Otherwise, we have loaded stuff. So I'm gonna here console log response, just the first response, so we can see that our adding a broadcast ID is working. And then when that works, we can figure out how we can include it. Cool. So we've got a response which has, why is there only 12 of them? That makes no sense. There should definitely be more. Oh, right. Because they're each for a form? No. Form responses. Answers. What am I doing? Where is my... Is this not firing? Like, where is my ID? So this should have a form. Let's not do anything. Let's just see what the responses look like first. So reload the page, see what the responses look like. Form and responses, okay. Now, oh, I see. So we need to, when we get the data, right, okay, that's what we need to do. So for our when we get the responses here, Then we gotta say, let's say let responses, then we say responses equals responses dot map. We're gonna get a row of data, and for each one of those we take all the old data and we add a broadcast ID which comes from forms of row.form, like that, and that should work. So let's see if that works. Loading data, we got responses, and each of them has an undefined broadcast ID. Perfect. So let's see what happens if we say console log of forms. Do those have what we expect them to have? So forms, no, oh, because it's not entries, it's from entries. Now it's gonna work. Okay, reload the page again, and we get wonderful. So now each of the responses that we have is associated with, so each set of responses that we have is associated with its broadcast ID. Perfect. Git status, git commit -a associate each set of form responses with a broadcast. Cool. Git push origin master. Okay, so I'm gonna take a couple hour break now, but I will be back. So yeah, it's just getting too hot here and I need to meal prep and stuff, and then I'll come back and finish up this visualization. I didn't expect it would take us this long to get so far, but we now have everything we need to make this really cool. And one idea I had was basically to have hearts falling out of or exploding out of each of these emails, and then figure something out from there. So thanks everyone for watching, and I will be back, let's say around 9 or 10 p.m. tonight, which is in 3 hours or so, and we're gonna go for another 2 hours, and then that's gonna be it for today. So if in those 2 hours we don't get this done, then I don't know, this was a bad experiment. But thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you again tonight.